Hi, this is Jim Ave again, and in this announcement, or this video, I'm going to go over the signature assignment for Kinesiology 792A. It's called the Professional Portfolios, and you can find this assignment in Appendix B in your syllabus. A couple things I suggest that you have with you as I go over this assignment is obviously the syllabus. I also have a professional portfolio template and the rubric that I'll use to assess your professional portfolio. Now, I'm not going to go over every single word here in the appendix. You're adults, you can read what I have here. What I would like to do is go over each one of the sections of the professional portfolio because I just want to make sure everybody's clear on the professional portfolio. Really, our purpose for you doing the professional portfolio is to allow you to get a better understanding of the different standards that you're going to use in your profession, or you should be using in your profession. I'm going to say up front what's towards the end of the directions for this assignment is how do you know which standards you should use. So I'm going to scroll down into I'm not sure what page this is, but it's on section 3. And let's say you have multiple jobs. Say you're a teacher, a PE teacher, and a coach. Which standard should you follow? The general rule is who's paying you the money. If your contract is to be a physical education teacher and you get a stipend to be a coach, your main job is being a PE teacher. But if your main job is being a coach, then you're going to follow the coaching standards. Yeah, or if you're a strength and conditioning individual, you'll follow the strength and conditioning standards. Now, let's go back and talk about the PE standards first. Generally speaking, you're going to follow the standards from your state. So if you are a PE teacher here in California, you'll follow the California Public School Standards, PE standards. If you're not a California PE teacher, you're going to follow your state standards. If your state does not have standards, then you'll follow the NASP physical education standards. In a word on the California PE standards, I think we'll find in the second half of the school year of this class, because we take this in the fall and you'll take this class in the spring, and we'll go over the second half of our standards during that class. They're pretty much the same, the NASP standards and the California PE standards, but there are some differences, especially at the high school level. We'll get to that in the spring. For the coaches, you'll follow the NASP standards for athletic coaches, and that's one of the textbooks you're supposed to buy. And if you're a strength and conditioning individual, you'll follow the NSCA standards for strength and conditioning coaches for that. And if there are the other individuals out there, just send me an email and we will talk about that. All right. Scroll back up. And so you're going to make a portfolio basically once a month. So your first one's due in 4 weeks. And so between now and hopefully way before it's due in September, you're working on your professional portfolio. You're supposed to be doing this a little bit at a time. So I have all these directions. I'm just going to go to the template. And so I have this template here that your portfolio should look something like this. You should have a title page, and I put all the pertinent information here on the title page, which you should have. Then you're going to start your brand new first page with the title of your paper. That's what you should do with all your assignments, is have the title of your paper on page 1. You do not include a introduction section title per APA. You do not do that with APA. You just go straight into your paper. So your very first section, as the directions state, is a introduction. This is not going to be graded. Your introduction is just what you should include in your portfolio. You're going to introduce the readers of your portfolio to yourself. You're going to include your name, your contact information, any kind of certifications that you may hold, any professional or educational, personal background that you want to provide about yourself that will help the reader know who you are. You can include a picture if you wish. It's really up to you. The length is really up to you. It's really just to introduce the reader or readers to yourself. Again, this section will not be assessed at all. You will not get a grade on this section. So you finish that, it'll be as long as you want. As soon as you finish your introduction, you're going to start on a brand new page. So if your introduction goes a page and a half, you will start that next section, the standards executive summary section, on a brand new page. And then you'll have section titles, as I have here. This is a level 1 section title per APA. And then in this section, you will describe the standard. In PE, it's called a content standard, and in coaching, it's called a domain. And I believe in strength and conditioning, it's also called a standard. And what you're going to do here, each portfolio has assigned standards or domains for you to cover. So in this section, you're just going to provide an executive summary of what that particular standard or domain is about. You should explain it so that a non-PE teacher or a non-coach or a non-strength and conditioning person can understand it. It shouldn't be too long. It should maybe be about a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs at the very maximum. Do not just copy and paste information from the textbook. That's not good writing. That's not master's level graduate student writing. You should write it in your own words, explain it so a non-PE person, a non-kinesiology person can understand it. Make sure you're citing your sources. So you should be citing the NASB or the California Physical Education Standards throughout this paper. As it says here, remember to indent each new paragraph and double space the body of your document. Now, I'm a little anal about this double spacing stuff, so I'm going to show you right now. If you right click on your mouse, hit paragraph, you see this setting right here. It needs to be at 0 and 0 for all your papers that you turn in for me. Because I'm really picky about that. I don't know why. It just annoys me the way Microsoft Word has defaulted the spacing there. So make sure you set it up that way. Double space everything. After you finish your executive summary, you're going to start your next section, which is called your artifact section, on a brand new page again. So every new section starts on a brand new page for this class. It's not the same for every class, but for this particular class and this particular assignment. So what you're going to do is you're going to find one artifact that proves that you are meeting that assigned standard or domain at your workplace. This one is a little bit more difficult to understand for the coaches than it is for the physical education teacher or the strength and conditioning person. For example, in the second portfolio, coaches, you're going to work on domains 2 and you're going to work on domains 3. So you need to find one artifact that proves that you are meeting domain 2, not each one of the standards within the domain, just the domain itself. And so same with physical education teachers for, let's say, this first assignment, the first portfolio. It's the first content standard. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. You have to find a lesson plan. Obviously, that's what it should be. It should be a lesson plan that shows and demonstrates that you are meeting that particular content standard as a PE teacher. Okay, you find that artifact. That's the easy part. That artifact will be placed in the appendix of your paper, not here in this section where we're at currently. What this section is about is for you to explain why you selected that artifact and explain why it actually does meet that standard domain for that particular assigned portfolio. Be very specific and clear on why that artifact meets that standard. Now, for the coaches, you need to just focus on the domain as a whole. You can bring in some of the standards when you're discussing, but it should focus on the big picture of that domain. Why does that artifact meet that domain? I don't know why students struggle with understanding the concept here with first you pick the artifact and then you explain specifically why that artifact demonstrates your mastery of that particular standard or domain. So that is the artifact section. That should be about 2 to 3 pages in length. This particular section, this write-up. And again, in this section here, you should be citing references supporting what you're talking about. Then your last section of the written paper is could be called personal and professional growth. Can also be called the reflection section. I think I have it in the syllabus as reflection. Either title is fine with me. And in this section, you're going to reflect on how you have mastered this standard over this domain. How have you improved in this area since you started coaching, teaching, whatever you do? And think about that. This is personal reflection. You have to think. And I've been teaching for 10 years. And in this particular standard of physical education, when I first started out as a PE teacher, I was very weak in this area. I was not very good. Or maybe right now you've never really even looked at these standards before, and you've really never turned in a lesson plan or developed a lesson plan based on that particular standard, and you actually taught it. And how did it go? Or you've been teaching again for 10 years in that particular standard, and you've seen how you've gotten better over the years at teaching that specific standard for your specific age group. And then how can you continue to grow and get better in this area? This is critical for me as we want to identify the things that you do well, and then how can you continue to do well in those particular areas. Don't focus on your weaknesses so much. I think that's a flaw. You're going to take a class where we discuss strengths and weaknesses, and I really want you to focus on the things that you do well. You can talk about some of the things that you need to get better at and how you can get better at. That's okay, but I want you to work on, this is what I did well in this particular area, and this is how I can continue to get better. Then I also want you to discuss any professional development you have done in this area, reading, research, collaboration, all that type of stuff, and how you can continue to go to do some other professional development to get better in that particular standard or that particular domain, or domains if you're going to have more than one domain in the portfolio. So this section should be about 2 to 3 pages also. And again, if you are citing sources, you should cite them in your paper. Speaking of citations, right after that section, you start on a brand new page with the reference page, and this is how you head it, references. Down here is an example of how to cite this would be a journal article, or actually this would be a book. So you have to make sure that you're citing sources correctly. Everything that you cite in your paper should be in the reference page. I expect each student to actually learn APA. I'll provide APA helps in the class to help you with APA. You should have the APA manual. You've taken enough courses by this point. I hope you've learned APA a little bit at this point, but I expect you to get into that APA manual and learn it. That's part of being a graduate student. So you should cite all your references. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about exactly how you should cite in APA. Then after the reference list on a brand new page again, actually this is the wrong format. This should be bolded and indented. It should be your appendix, and you're going to your very first appendix should be Appendix A, then the next appendix would be Appendix B, so forth and so on. So you're going to include your artifact in the appendix, and it's going to be in here, not in the body of your paper like we said earlier. And it says if there is no artifact included, you automatically lose 35 points for this assignment. This professional portfolio should be contained in one file, one document as we grow this portfolio, because you will have portfolio 1, 2, and 3. This portfolio is going to continue as one file. It's going to continue to grow through this semester. So it'll always be in one portfolio, or one file, excuse me. Now, how I will assess this assignment is using this rubric, and I'll use this how I typically, what you got on the rubric. I'll highlight it like this, and I'll give you your score. And so you did really well here. I'll highlight it, and you got this section. The artifact section is worth 40 points. The standards description is worth 5 points. The reflection section is worth 40 points. How you write and communicate is worth 5 points. How you've organized your portfolio is worth 5 points. Using APA style and formatting, you cited your references within the paper. You followed the section titles within the template. It's worth 3 points. And again, more formatting stuff is worth 2 points. So I'll highlight your scores, give you a score. Say you did 38, you did pretty good, but you were missing some things. And I'll also, gotta highlight that too. We're missing a few things, and I'll also give you written remarks within your paper to help you improve for your next portfolio. And then you'll get a total score down at the bottom. And then there's the evaluation score. You have to earn, like I said in the other announcement, you have to earn 82 or greater on each of the three main on this total assignment. Let's say that you score on your very first portfolio. It was okay in my opinion, but it wasn't exceptional. You score 75 for whatever reason. Maybe your description of the artifacts was not perfectly clear, or the artifact wasn't appropriate. I didn't understand really what you were describing, and you earned a say 75% here. I don't know what that number is, and you had an average standard description, but you had a really good reflection, but your score ended up being a 75. The nice thing about this class is that you can redo your portfolio and improve your grade, because it's your portfolio. I want it to be excellent. So you can redo that. I don't want you to be lazy and just have to rewrite them every single time. I want you to work hard the first time so that you don't have to rewrite it, because that's double the work for the class. So that's how you'll get assessed. I'll turn back in your actual portfolio with written remarks within a portfolio, plus you also get the rubric to see your score for the assignment. And lastly, there's some other words. Got all that. Write either in the first person, meaning I, we, me, or the third person. Third person means you take yourself out of the paper. It just makes sense to write in the first person, since this is your professional portfolio. Once you start in a particular grammar format in the sections or in the paper, just stay in that grammar style. So if you start in first person, stay in first person throughout the paper. Do not use you or your in any paper that you turn into me. That is poor grammar. You should never use second person in any of the assignments for this graduate program. And you really should write in the past tense, since you've completed all this work already. You've already hopefully taught the lesson and you're reflecting on it, or you've did all this stuff in the past. And if you turn in your assignment late, it's going to be reduced by 25%. So don't turn your assignment in late and get it done on time. It's just a simple concept. And if you have any questions about any of this stuff that we're talking about, please post your questions in the Q&A form in the class, because if you have the question, more than likely other students in the class have the exact same question. So I want to make sure that I'm not answering a whole bunch of emails about the same thing. So just post your questions there. I'm pretty good about checking the Q&A form pretty regularly and answering your questions. So I hope you enjoy this. Is really to help you grow as a professional, as a PE teacher, or as a coach, or as a strength and conditioning individual. And I look forward to reading your portfolios throughout this semester.